All right, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Electric Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, the Electric One, and today I have a man whose team has come, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but let's just say he's sitting at the top of the leaderboard as of this podcast. And I'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Thomas Lemoyne. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Great to be here. First podcast, first video live podcast I've ever done. So
Really?
big moment for me.
Yeah, you can just, when you have kids someday, you can just be like, you know what, man, I was on my first ever podcast. It was this Electric Fantasy Football podcast about our work fantasy football league, and people watch it. It's weird.
Oh yeah, gather around, kids. Got a great story to tell about my first podcast. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, but we were talking a little bit before we started recording, because we don't really see each other that much, pretty much at all anymore. Pretty much just once a year if we do the draft live. We need to change that. But you were even saying, you're like, I go and like search for the podcast, and you're seeing like we have like 60 views, and it's crazy to me just to think that 60 people are entertained by this work fantasy football league. And which gives me to the next point of how we know each other. We worked together at Gale. You were hired before me. Do you remember exactly when you were hired? You probably do.
Yeah, March 2013.
March 20th of 2013.
March
2013.
March. I remember the NCAA tournament was going on. That's all.
And you were like, shit, I have to work.
Yeah, I was like, why did I pick now to start this job?
Yeah, so you started in March. I started in July the same year. So you were there 4 months before me, and that was when, for anyone that's watching that's at Gale or recently left Gale, we were in the agile space. It was me, you, Rob, and Joe Williams. God, and that's when I came in, into like sitting with these three people that I don't know like at all. It's like, you know how it is, like very anxious your first day of work, and you realize you're like, you don't even have your own like desk. I mean, we had our own desk, but like I'm literally looking at you and two other people face to face.
Looking back on it, I cannot.
How much anxiety do you have? Yeah, like that's definitely not a you thing.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, literally, it's like you're in elementary school and you have like a desk mate here, but then you also have two people across from you. It's like this little round table situation. Honestly, though, looking back on that, those were some of the best like days of my working life,
Yeah, because if you think about it, and what better way than to get to know your coworkers? Like I was brand new. You were pretty brand new. Joe was brand new. I think Joe was hired right around the same time you were, and like literally just four guys talking about sports all day.
That's what it was. It was like we honestly talk about like this podcast. We should have had. I think we joked back in the day. We should have had like a radio show or something. Just
it is because we even had
of copy pasting and of doing our work and just talking sports. It was.
I don't know if it was a daily thing I did, or I think it was like maybe every Wednesday. I remember I had like trivia Wednesdays where like I would ask like you, Joe, Rob, Larry, maybe people would come over from different departments, and I would just ask like trivia questions. And like if it was hockey, it was like Joe immediately got
Joe
it.
Crushed. Oh,
yeah, like Joe was like so excited when I did hockey trivia, because he was just like, if I stumped him, he was just like, I know, I just don't know it right now, sort of thing. But yeah, like you and Larry were killer with college. So if anyone doesn't know, Tom is one of those guys that if you just name like an NFL player, or even a retired NFL player that didn't do much, or like a basketball player, Tom can tell you what college he went to.
Yeah, you know what the problem with this game is? That people are always like, yeah, like Tom he just come up with anybody's name, and then they ask me a player. Like you asked me at the draft, you asked me like Tyler Higbee, and I was like,
yes.
Like I forgot Higbee. I think he's like South Dakota State, or no, he's I can't remember, something like that, South Dakota State.
I always felt good when I could stump you, because that's like, I'm thinking of somebody off the wall, and like that no one even cares about.
you're not the only one though. I have a friend, one of my best friends, I swear, literally probably 10 or 12 years ago, he asked me Jimmy Smith, like the defensive back, Jimmy Smith, where he went to school. And I said Virginia Tech, and it was Colorado. And Jimmy Smith like retired a couple weeks ago. Got a text message from that friend being like, Jimmy Smith. Like, I'll never forget. I'm like, really? You're proud of stumping me on Jimmy Smith 10 years ago? Anyway.
I have a friend that I used to play softball with. He's still a good friend of mine. He was the same way. And we would like drive like to like Cincinnati for softball, and he'd be driving. And I would just be drinking in the back seat. But and I'd be like, hey, JP, you want to play that game where I say players you gotta say their college? He's like, let's do it. So I was just giving him out, he was giving it back, and I was like, T.Y. Hilton. And he was just like,
he didn't know.
He didn't know. Got him. FIU,
you
baby.
knew it.
Yeah.
You knew that. FIU, that's right.
Yes, yeah. So before we get into too much, we're gonna have to play a little game here.
All right. A game. I didn't see this coming.
I'm gonna name a player. You gotta tell me where you get to tell me where they went to college.
Oh, all right. This is gonna be horrible. Let's go.
It relates to your team.
Oh,
Deontay
okay.
Johnson.
Okay, this is oh my god.
First one is
right now.
You're starting receiver in your lineup.
I know.
We're gonna talk about.
I'll get him. Move on to the next.
Dallas Goedert.
This is insane. I know all this. Go.
DJ Moore.
Maryland. Believe this. Dallas Goedert went to South Dakota State. Am I right? You go to South Dakota State?
He went to South Dakota State.
All right. I see. It's coming back to me.
You got some rebuttal. If you can get Deontay Johnson.
Yeah. Deontay Johnson. This one's killing me because it's really obvious.
Can I give you a hint?
Yeah.
He was drafted in 2019 with the 66th overall pick by the Steelers.
Yeah.
It's a MAC school.
Oh, wow. See, this is why it's so weird that he's on my team and I don't know this, and I'm supposed to be like the guy who knows college.
I was trying to be like the host that like, like says how smart you are. Let's do some easy ones.
Instead, this is an embarrassment.
Like, I can't do Devontae Smith. The guy like just got there.
It's weird. This one's really weird. I like, because the way my mind works is like, I think back, like when I go back to the draft, like I know roughly when the draft, and I go back and I try to remember like roughly what round they're picked in, and then I try to like picture. Like usually there's some cue from their college career that I can remember, like one moment in their college career. I watch a lot of college football, more than I watch NFL even. And
this team was good.
For the life of me, I cannot remember this guy's career in the MAC.
He was on a good team. I think they were good that year.
I mean, Toledo is always good, but it's not Toledo. It's not Toledo. It's not Central Michigan. Doesn't feel like a Northern Illinois. Doesn't feel like a Buffalo.
All right, I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to cut you off because you already got it wrong. This first school you said.
It's Toledo?
Yeah.
Get out. Wow. I have no recollection. No recollection.
His junior year was his last year. He was better in 2017. But in 2017 he had 1,300 yards receiving and 13 touchdowns.
I can tell you who his quarterback was. His quarterback was Logan Woodside, I think. at Toledo. I can tell you that off the top of my head.
Who is he in the NFL? Woodside?
I don't know. Man. That's just I feel like we gotta cut this podcast off at this point. I'm gonna go bury my head in the sand.
Before we get on to what people came to hear, probably is talk about our fantasy football league and what's going on. But before we move on, do you still do any of the college basketball like reporting? Didn't you used to go to like at least the Big Ten tournament and stuff like that?
I did.
I used to see you on TV. I was like, that's Tom.
I know. I got some tech when I was at the Big Ten tournament a couple years back. I got people I hadn't texted in like a long time being like, do I see you on my TV? Like it was during the Michigan State game, especially. Uh, yeah, that was an interesting time. No, I don't do that anymore, but yeah, I used to do a little blog writing and it turned into being able to get some press credentials for some NCAA tournaments and Big Ten tournaments, which was pretty cool, honestly. Like no one read no one read what I was
I
writing,
did. I did.
but okay, well, I appreciate that. Hey, at least I had one reader out there. Um, but it didn't. I mean, it was cool because I like when you have press credentials, you have full. You can sit courtside. You go to the press conferences. You can go to the locker rooms. You can talk to coaches. You can talk to players. Um, and I mean, honestly, at the time, I remember when I would do it, it actually felt like work, and it kind of was a lot of work. It wasn't really like necessarily fun, but looking back on it, I'm like that was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I mean, I covered the tournament in like Syracuse, Buffalo.
There's traveling alone for it. It's so
Yeah,
cool.
traveling alone for it. That's something too, though. Like, I wish I had known people. Like, I wish I had reached out to like other journalists and like tried to make some friends or something because it's a lonely racket if you're out there by yourself, just like going to games, writing, and then going back to your hotel or whatever. But yeah, I don't do that anymore.
I don't know if I told you this back in the day, but before I joined Gale, I had a unpaid internship with M Live, and I did high school football, and it was like it was so fun. It was just like I'm working so hard for nothing, for literally
for nothing. I know that's
but it's like I'm paying my dues and getting the reps in, and then I was just like, the whole journalism thing kind of fell out the window because my brother's in journalism, and he was like, Eric, go in a different field.
no, he's smart. He's smart because that's the thing. The journalism field in general, not just sports, is like you grind, you pay your dues, like you said, you work for nothing early in your career, and then the payoff is later in your career. You work for just a little bit above nothing. Like the pay just isn't there, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time out in the field. I mean, literally and figuratively, like you're just out. Whether you're doing high school football or like local politics, like you're just out there talking to people. And
man.
I feel like the work never ends. I feel like the work never ends either. You have deadlines. It's tough.
Yeah, I remember if I had like an hour or so drive like back from a high school football game, I would literally I didn't want to waste time. I would have like my recorder that I used to like record interviews, and I would just be like starting my story. Like I'd be like saying like
while you're driving.
Yeah, like what my opening, my thesis, like opening paragraph and like conclusion was gonna be, and then I'm just gonna fill in the stats, like in the
when you get exactly. No, yeah, you have to like create that template for yourself. I mean, you have to though, because and that's the other part of it too, is like you go to these games, you cover them, you take your notes, you do your interviews. Then, like you said, you have to drive back, and then when you get back, you're exhausted. But then that's when the work begins. Like you work
deadline, yeah.
You have to write the thing. It's tough, man. I'm impressed by all journalists who have stuck with it.
For real, and especially the journalists that are like the assholes, like the guy that asked Ron Rivera the other day about Carson Wentz. It's like, someone's got to ask that question.
Yeah. Someone's got to. I know. Someone like it's going to be asked. That's the thing about Ron Rivera, like walking out, or any coach who gets mad in a press conference, like the question's coming. Like it's coming. So don't take it out on the poor journalist who has to ask the question.
Or just go to the podium and be like, okay, before I start, I don't want any questions about my starting quarterback. All right. Like,
yeah,
you guys just won a game. Like, answer questions.
How often do you see an upset coach in a presser after a win, besides like Nick Saban, who's always mad? But you don't see that very often.
Yeah, but news reporters, we have massive, massive props to you.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the Fantasy Football League. Before we get into the standings and talk about what's going on, I gave a little preview of what the standings are at the moment, but we're going to talk about the draft. That's my favorite part of the season. I love that we did it in person again this year. It's been a couple of years since 2019, I believe it was. So, what was your draft strategy? I know you are like you do your research, and you're my go-to guys, for my other league. like that you're not in, if I need to like run an idea by somebody, it's usually you, because I know like you put in the work and like can give me like an honest, educated answer. So what was your draft strategy going in? Like, and what pick did you have?
I had what was I like
You were after
second or
me.
I feel like I was on the top half of the draft. I
You were
I
after,
gotta
you
pull
were
it up real
third
quick.
because no, you were second because you took my guys a lot. I think you were second, weren't you?
I think that's right. I'm trying to pull up the draft here.
Did you who'd you yeah, you took you didn't take Dalvin Cook because Larry did.
I should have come definitely
You took
should have come more
McCaffrey.
prepared.
You
I
took
took
McCaffrey.
I took CMC. I took
Yeah,
CMC.
I'm looking at your
So
roster right
yeah.
now.
So was I second or third? What was I? I'm looking
You
at
were
my roster
second.
too.
You were second
One
because I took
second.
Jonathan Taylor. He's
Right,
doing
right,
really
right.
well.
So yeah, so first of all, on the when it comes to research, and I
I hate
appreciate
first
you.
overall pick, by the way. But yeah, go ahead.
That's right. That's right. Well, a couple things. One, like I'm in a couple leagues. This is like has always been, I think, this in my old like high school league. I love them just because I feel like I like the people. Like I'm also in like
Legacy leagues
my
too. Like
sister's
they're like
boyfriend's league and like whatever. But like, yeah, legacy leagues, you know. But in like in my other league, I'd also had second pick and I had gone to somebody else. And what I like to do is like diversify, you know, my portfolio players. Like I don't want to I don't want to go all in on like CMC, for example, and then have him tear his ACL or whatever, like he's prone to do, honestly. And then just be completely done for the season. So that was part of it. Like I needed to go Christian McCaffrey, but also like if you're, you know, fantasy football, you can do all the research you want. It's like there's so much luck involved with fantasy football, as you know. Like there's so much luck involved, injury luck, like breakout luck. I mean, there's just like you know how a team runs an offense. Oftentimes, new coaches come in will just disregard a good player. They'll just change the offense so that player is no longer a great fantasy player. You know, both Christian McCaffrey, like I feel like you knew what you were getting with. I feel like I knew what I was getting with like the offense that we're going to run. Like he's going to get touches no matter what. And if he's healthy, his ceiling is obviously insanely high. So, I mean, to me, I had to go McCaffrey there.
was Cook or Cup ever
Cup? So Cup was where I went in the other league, and Cup,
he's doing well.
And like I felt like for me it was like, all right, Cup has a higher floor. Like with Cup, no matter what, you know you're going to get production. He's not really injury prone. He's very durable and he gets targets no matter what. So his floor is higher than McCaffrey, but I felt like Christian McCaffrey's ceiling is higher than Cup. I mean, a great season from Christian McCaffrey is unbeatable, basically. Because
McCaffrey's got you 112 points so far.
Yeah, he's been solid. The problem, I mean, looking
19 a
back on it,
game.
I mean, if I could do it over again, I'd probably go Cup, right? I mean, the targets Cup gets are just a lot of people thought that Stafford's, you know, shoulder was going to be an issue. And look, the Rams don't look good by any stretch. But the fact is, like, he goes to Cup every other play. It's unbelievable watching that. I mean, he's the only option, really. I mean, there are other options, Allen Robinson, whatever, but like the only guy that Stafford trusts is Cooper Cup. So, but look,
I heard
my
they're
problem
pushing
is
hard to get
the reason I don't,
OBJ.
yeah, OBJ, he could be, if he comes back, could be an option, but they miss him. They definitely miss him. You know, the thing about fantasy football too is like, it's funny you come to me with some questions for your other league because I'm not good at fantasy football. Like I don't, and part of the reason I'm not good,
I don't think I am either.
is because, well, I don't know if anybody's good to be honest, but like I'm all about known quantities. And the problem with that is like, I'm afraid to take a flyer on like a Breece Hall or like a rookie or someone who's supposed to be a breakout but hasn't proven it yet. I never take those guys because I'm like, well, they haven't proven it yet. But in fantasy football, you have to take those guys because you're going to miss out on that short window of time when they're like explode at their explosive best, you know.
And
So
plus, you can usually get them like in a later round.
exactly.
I hate being the guy to bring up other leagues, but I took Kenneth Walker the third. I texted you that night. I think it was fifth or sixth round, and literally everyone turned around. I was in the back of the room. Everyone turned around and said, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" I go, "Dynasty League, bro." I was like,
genius. Oh, Dynasty League, absolutely.
Because dude, look at him now. I said all it's gonna take is Penny to get hurt, and he's the guy. Now he's averaging 10 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Like, and now I'm going to get him like in the 6th round next year because I'm going to keep him.
Yeah,
That's how that league
that's
works. So it's like
that's such a good.
that's those are the people. I tried to get him off. I tried to get him off Haynes when we were in the office. Was it last week? He's like, "What's your proposal, man?" I was like, "I'm just telling you what I want, man. What are you looking for?" And we just never. You know how trades in this league? That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
non-existent. It's
It's
literally
all it's all talk, no
yeah,
no actual moves being made.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I
no,
mean,
I mean that's the kind of guy that it's the perfect example of Kenneth Walker. Like you have to take a chance on those guys because if you don't, you're going to be stuck with like for me, it's like, oh, should I go with this potential breakout or should I go with like Melvin Gordon, who I know is going to get some carries, but his ceiling is so low. And sure enough, like a guy like that is just turns out to be worthless. While
yeah,
a
and
Kenneth
and he didn't
Walker,
get like
Brees
he didn't
Hall,
get any carries yesterday. The other guy got carries for
yeah, he had like
Denver.
3 carries at the beginning, and then whatever his name, Nathaniel Hackett was like, yeah,
Yeah,
Gordon's not good. I'm done with him. So I don't know. But in terms of the strategy for the rest of my draft, like for PPR, since we're a full PPR, like I always put like a premium on receivers. Either receivers or like running backs who catch who get a lot of targets. And I felt like with McCaffrey and Aaron Jones, I felt like they are high target running backs. And then I drafted several again receivers who I know get a lot of looks. You know, even on my bench, I kind of went receiver heavy with uh,
you've got
DJ
you got
Moore, who
yeah,
plays.
Darnell Mooney,
Again, the
Devontae
Panthers are such a
Smith.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Look, I don't know that I had much of a strategy besides like take the best player and take guys who you know are going to get targets. That's pretty much my only
I,
strategy. But
I mean, you can't. I mean, after the draft, were you feeling good? Because like most everybody, like you watched the movie, you watched the show The League back in the day. I'm guessing like at least 3 episodes, but like, they're like jerking off to their teams and stuff. Like after I was done with my draft, I think I looked at Al or McKenny. I was just like, I don't like my team. Like I was like, I had one too many bush lights. I think like it's just like, where did it all go wrong? But
yeah, that's how I
how
feel
did
about
you
most teams.
feel?
I actually felt good. This is one of the few leagues few teams I've had in the past couple of years. I actually did lead the league feeling pretty good. And then projections came out, and I think like week 1, I was projected to score like most or second most points, and I was like, all right, that like reaffirms my feeling about my team a little bit. It validates my feeling. But then the season hits and you realize that a lot of the players you thought were like awesome, were going to be awesome, aren't. I mean, I don't know. I play fantasy baseball too, and that's such a more sure thing than fantasy football.
I
I
can't
tell
believe I
you.
didn't bring that up.
Oh yeah, I actually,
Dude,
what am I talking about? We just played.
that was supposed to be in the intro, Eric.
We don't need to get into
No,
that.
no, we do. So Tom runs a fantasy baseball league, and he was nice enough to ask me to join this year. Fantasy baseball is my favorite fantasy sport. Just because people think it's too much work. It just takes more attention. It's just like I love baseball, so it's like I love looking at the bottom line on ESPN and
Yeah,
seeing like my guy hit a home run or like my I'm not checking my
same.
roster every inning to see how my pitcher did, but at the end of the
Yeah,
night I'm gonna be like, oh cool, like he's on my
yeah,
team, sort of thing.
yeah.
And but long story short, Tom and I were in the championship against each other. Tom was dominant all year long. I started off 0-4, 0-5, and then
Yeah, like
made
0
it to the
5, I
and
think.
made it to the finals. So, but Tom beat
So
me
is
pretty
honestly
handily.
the
Yeah,
run you went on. Look, my team. I'm not even gonna beat around the bush here. My team was
you're just very
phenomenal,
good at fantasy base. Like
but
the people that don't realize the strategy that you and I do, and I think a couple other guys in your league did. Like I played one guy, man, he didn't even have like 4 guys in his position lineup because he wanted to
yeah,
pick up all pitchers. So I get
yeah,
to how
that
many times I
was
was boned this year picking up a guy and get like -11. Dude, it was just like
yeah.
I had to stop. Like I didn't trust picking up a pitcher who maybe throws 5 innings.
Well, no,
Starting
but
pitchers.
that's what I thought. That's why it was so cool that you and I met in the finals, though, is because like your team was constructed so much differently. I thought than my team because like I think you more than any other team in the league you had like a ton of closers, like a ton of really
Yeah,
effective
I,
closers.
I had I had
I think
four.
you had
Like
like, and the thing is, there aren't that many reliable closers, and you had like basically all of them. You had like Class A from the Guardians, guys
yeah,
who
I had the
and
Houston's guy
yeah,
Presley.
that's right. You had I think Ryan Presley, yeah. But like
I had
playing
the one guy
you,
that was trained to the Brewers. Yeah, I had
yeah,
really good closers.
and which is terrible because like playing you, I was like, oh yeah, I got him beat. Like I got him. He's done. Like he's done for the night, right? Like his team's done. He has no other players going. And then I check back later, and you got like 3 more saves, and like you're climbing back. I'm like, what? I can't put this
18
guy
points,
away.
2 per save. I'm like, oh, I'm like
Yeah.
that was, and I had position players like, dude, I left them all in. Like I didn't have any bench position players, but like
Yeah.
I had my catcher could play outfield and like so it was just
Yeah,
like
you
if I
had
needed
good
to swap that around, like it was just
good
cool.
lineup versatility for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but congratulations, congrats on the win.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now we're
Appreciate
gonna
that
go.
little
Now we're gonna
diversion into
get
to baseball.
now we're going to go into what matters, and that is this fantasy football league because that is current day. And I already brought up that you are currently sitting in first place with 4 other teams, I believe it is. You are in. There's 5 teams sitting at 4 and 2. You are second because you have the second most points behind Al. Al came out of nowhere too. So yeah, so 712 points scored for you. Like I said, second place. And you have a pretty easy matchup this week, but the reason why I say that is he's playing me. I'm currently sitting at 1 and 5. What's your plan at quarterback this week?
Hey, it remains to be seen. Check back tomorrow once the waiver wire hits. You know, it's funny. I think every other team in the league has a backup quarterback. I never draft a backup quarterback ever.
I know you don't.
I always
That's
think
why I was like, I think I'm playing Tom this week, and I'm pretty sure the Eagles are on a bye. I go, that would just work out really well. And
yeah, it works out really well.
I mean, you still have starting quarterback. My other league, I mean, you can put your quarterback as a flex spot. So there's no starting quarterback. So you literally you can't start a quarterback in the flex spot.
Yeah.
Like for you right now, you'd be screwed. You would literally have nobody that you could pick up.
Which would be horrible. I would have to pick up a backup or something. I don't know. But so part of the reason I'm in first is because I got lucky with Hurts. I thought Hurts could be solid. I didn't know Hurts was going to be MVP caliber.
I actually read a lot of stuff about how he was definitely a guy to draft. It was him and Trevor Lawrence were the 2 guys that they said that were going to come out of their shells. But I mean, obviously Hurts did. So
yeah,
that was a great pick. What because I know you were saying in the draft too, you're I'm not taking a quarterback. You're one of those guys that waits a very long time to even take a quarterback. Yeah. What round did you get Hurts in? Do you remember?
I feel like I got Hurts in the 7th round, maybe something like that. Do you know?
He's an MVP candidate. I mean, I can look it up, but
I thought you were looking at it. No, I mean something like that. Definitely. I mean, that's the thing. I always wait on quarterbacks.
7th round.
What was it?
7th.
Okay, yeah. You know, I often wait too long though on quarterbacks, and then I get stuck with back in the day with Phillip Rivers. It's always that fringe starter in fantasy. I feel like I'd always get stuck with a Phillip Rivers kind of guy. So I feel like I even went probably a little earlier than I usually do to make sure I got at least someone who I knew would be productive. Because with Hurts, he's at least gonna pick up some yards on the ground, gonna throw a touchdown or 2. But what he's doing this year is just it's bonkers. I mean, that the whole team is just completely exceeding expectations. But this week I'm in trouble as a result. He's been my team.
So I don't. I actually need a quarterback too. Both my quarterbacks are on buys. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! What a mess! What a mess! Well, I took Cousins last. I took Cousins last round because that was I just got to take Cousins. But yeah, so right now you're projected to beat me 86 to 83, but we both don't have quarterbacks in, and you don't have a tight end.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of those weeks. This is why I love fantasy football, though, because this is where people can make a jump, like people like me, because you're playing against better teams, but with players that have buys.
Yeah. Bye weeks change the whole complexion of the.
You don't have Devontae Smith,
complexion of the league,
Goddard, and Hurts. You really love the Eagles, but so you're without them. I'm without Josh Allen, AJ Brown. That really hurt.
Yeah,
obviously, and Cousins too. So I don't have. Back up.
So yeah, oh wow! All right,
Cousins won't be in my lineup.
Hang on, this means we're both picking up quarterbacks this week, which means that let's take a look at the waiver wire.
Let's do it.
You're second. You got me.
Who's first?
So let's take a look at who's available then.
Well, it's not
What's
going to
funny is
matter.
when people
It's
watch
not
this
going to
podcast.
matter. It's not going to matter who
Yeah,
I say I pick because this is going to be posted tomorrow when it's already done.
I know.
I will tell
Well,
you who I'm taking.
okay,
Taking Trevor Lawrence.
as you should, as you should.
I wanted to take Goff, but Dallas' defense, man, I feel like they're just going to eat him up.
There's something else.
Yeah.
I don't know. And the way that they looked against the Patriots, I mean, what?
I
Yeah,
would say you're going Matt Ryan. Just because I feel like that he would fit well. He's going to throw you.
he was so bad. Listen, he was so bad early in
Tennessee's
the
defense
season.
isn't that bad either.
But then what he did against Jackson, he looked like a complete different quarterback against Jacksonville, at least in the highlights I saw. So, um, yeah, I mean Tennessee's defense, I guess, according to the ESPN, is pretty susceptible to
Yeah.
the pass. Um, I don't know about Brissett. I can't go Brissett, although he's been consistently average. Yeah, I don't know. I'll figure that out. That's a tomorrow problem.
Just so people that are watching, we have on the waivers, we have Matt Ryan, Jacoby Brissett, Trevor Lawrence, Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, Marcus Mariota, Kenny Pickett, Jimmy G, Taylor Henke, Davis Mills, James Winston, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson. So yeah, so those are the options. So it's going to be interesting to see who we both start at quarterback for this weekend.
Yeah, I hope nobody else needs a quarterback because otherwise
that might actually make or break this matchup for us.
Oh, it will. It will.
If one of us picks up a quarterback and gets 20 plus, another one's gets 4, there it is. That could be the game right there.
Yeah, I feel like Lawrence is going to have one of those games where he throws like 4 touchdowns. I know it's coming.
Hope the Giants defense isn't bad though. But
it's good. They've been solid.
Rush. I mean, they just shut down Aaron Rodgers, but that's another story. That's another. He's probably coming up on his end, I would say.
Maybe. You know what though? I don't know that it's a him thing. I think it's these teams like the Packers and the Patriots. They think they can just get rid of all their best skill players and still be good, which is just wow. Like you can't just lose a Devontae Adams and expect to be the same team. Like it's so stupid. I feel like it's such flawed thinking, or like it's such ego. It's such ego to think like our quarterback's so good, it doesn't matter who his receivers are. It's like, yeah, it does. It matters. I don't know.
I mean, if I'm a quarterback, I want to throw to someone I'm comfortable that's going to catch the ball, and that I know, it's the chemistry, the on-field chemistry. Sometimes you don't even know a person, you just have that chemistry. But even if you practice with somebody, you still don't have that, you don't pick up that chemistry. You might be more like in tune of what the play is with each other and how they're going to run it. But when in the game situation where you got to change a route, or audible, it's
totally different. No, completely.
So this week we just talked about, what can make or break this week. I need your prediction on if you're going to win this week and by how much.
I predict I'm going to lose this week because
you're the only person that would predict that. Come on.
Yeah, let me explain why though. My luck's gonna run out. I beat Larry last night by 1 point.
Oh, but you didn't talk about that. And he was favored to win by
all he needed was 1 point out of Mike Boone, and he got none. He got none.
Poor guy, man.
So I shouldn't even be at the top of the standings. 1. 2, I don't have Hurts, I don't have Goddard, I don't have a Devontae Smith on my bench. So I'm in a little bit of a pickle when it comes to quarterback and tight end. And I can only expect Ramondre Stevenson to carry my team for so long. So
he's been a sleeper, man. That was a great pick.
So that's my prediction. I lose. I think I lose a close one. I think we both score more than we think we're going to score. I think we get into the low 100s. I don't know how, but we get there.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I mean, I've been putting up low hundreds every week, so that would make sense for me.
Hey, you were at the same point in fantasy baseball, and you turn the ship around. So
yeah, it's not like I'm not knowledgeable. Or don't pay attention to like the players and stuff like that. Like, I have 4 guys that are on the IR, and it's like I don't want to drop them, and we shortened a bench spot. That was my idea this year, so that screwed me. But the extra IR spot is helping, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's crazy. That's fantasy football. I mean, I'm depleted right now, and got guys on buys, but the you talking about beating Larry by 1 and how he was supposed to beat you just reminds me of some history of the Gale Fantasy Football League. Tom was in the championship against remember who it was?
Delita.
Delita. Wow, he did win a championship, and that guy
Yeah.
doesn't want to be in the league anymore. I'm gonna tag him in this. Yeah. So what was that? You needed one
I need
point from
one
Vernon
point.
Davis. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he
So
just
in
needed
our
a
league,
catch. Just needed a catch.
I needed a catch because in our league, we do whole points, and so there can be ties, and when there's a tie, the team with whose quarterback got the most points that week, that's the tiebreaker, which is kind of arbitrary, but it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
My quarterback had more points than his that week, so we go into Monday Night Football. Vernon Davis, who I think at that point in his career had like never had a game with 0 catches
He was
or
having a
something
great,
like
like a
that.
good year for the Niners. Yeah.
Yeah, he's having a great year.
Yeah.
All he needs is a catch. It could be a catch for negative yards. It doesn't matter. It's just one full PPR. He just needs one catch. And somehow fantasy football gods were just not pleased with me that week. And he had 0 catches. He actually had one catch that was reviewed and his foot was out of bounds. So not only like did he not have a catch, but he like had a catch, had me thinking I won, and then they took the catch away. And then I just
What was going
ruined.
through your mind that night? Like, did you watch the game?
I watched the game, and what was going through my mind was like, well, it's not over till it's over, but I got this thing wrapped up. Like it's,
And
it's done.
that's 300. I would say the league was
Yeah.
$50 when we did it back then. So that
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
$350. Yeah.
I missed out on hundreds of dollars that night. And what's funny is I was home for the holidays, my folks' house, and my brother had brought home his girlfriend, who I think she'd come over once before, maybe, but he brought her home for like this, it's a few days before Christmas, for this big meal with the family. And I listen, no, listen, I absolutely ruined that night for everybody. Ruined that night.
Oh, you got to explain.
I just went I went to
Asshole.
like bed early. Like we were gonna play like a game or something after dinner. I just went just straight like once I lost, done for the night. Looking back on it, I'm embarrassed for myself. Like grow up. It's fantasy football. At the time though, I took that
But the amount of times,
hard.
because the amount of times I do like a lot of prop betting, like on DraftKings and stuff. Like yesterday, I bet that AJ Brown would have more yards than CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb had 87. AJ Brown had 86.
Listen,
It's just like,
that's
and
just
CeeDee Lamb wasn't doing anything because they barely
yeah,
could pass the ball. I just went to bed. I was like,
yeah.
oh, won that bet. Wake up in the morning, and I mean, it wasn't hundreds of dollars, which is
No, but
good
it's
fact,
still
but
yeah, it's still just yeah.
it's just like
Listen,
the
kids,
gambling
don't
gods, man.
don't bet on sports, kids. This is why you just
No.
set yourself up for excruciating disappointment.
All right, we have 2 more segments we're gonna cover. These are
Right.
some quick segments here. This is just fun stuff. If you've watched any of the previous episodes or listened, I like to do 2 different segments here. The first one is we're going to talk about where we just talked about it is sports betting. So we're going to talk predictions. I need a lock from you for college
Okay.
and pro this weekend.
Ooh. Okay.
It can be spread, it can be
Wow.
money line, it can be an over under, it can be a prop
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah. I usually come up with some good locks on the. I haven't sunk my teeth into the lines yet this week.
Neither have I.
Um,
Sorry for putting you on the
so
spot.
let's start with the NFL here. Just kind of going through things. Yeah, NFL's tough, man, because there's so much parity from week to week, especially this season. I mean, the NFC, for example, is just a complete everyone's 3-3. Everyone's 2-4, 3-3. For me, I really feel like if I'm going for lock, you can lock this up. Lock of the week. I think Chiefs -3 at the 49ers is as sure a bet as you could possibly get. The 49ers defense, literally two of their 11 projected defensive starters at the beginning of the year are currently in their starting lineup. They're decimated on defense. they're also not as good, I think, as people think they are. They had explosive plays that got them a couple wins, against the Rams, for example, but they weren't good. They just were not good last week against a middle of the road Falcons team. And you're playing Patrick Mahomes. You have a decimated defense against an angry Patrick Mahomes and Chiefs offense. I think it's
in
question.
California too, right? So it's gonna be warm. It's in Cali.
Yeah, it's in Santa Clara.
So it's gonna be warm. So that means Mahomes is gonna be slinging that thing, man.
He's gonna be slinging it. And look, I understand that like the Niners have a good home crowd, but come on, home crowd doesn't matter that much.
It's Mahomes, man. Plus, it's Mahomes. His fans travel everywhere.
Yeah, to me, that line -3 that feels way too low. I would honestly, I'd probably bet Chiefs up to like -6, -7.
That'd be a good payoff if you do alternate scoring on that.
Alternate spread, yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. That's a lock. I'm not for sure betting that. That was probably going to be a guarantee, but now we need a college one. This is where you need to come into play for me. Maybe I should start texting you as my handicapper, man. I only watch Big Ten, man, and it's like pressure. Big Tens. You can pick a new winner every week. Besides like Michigan, Ohio State, but
yeah. Well, so with college, like when I'm looking at like usually the locks are, and I think there's more value in like some of the smaller conferences in college. I feel like some of the lines can get a little weirder, but just kind of looking through, and I'd actually looked at this a couple of days ago, and nothing really stood out this week. I do think Clemson -13.5 on the road at I'm sorry, they're at home versus Syracuse, but I feel like 13.5 is a lot of points for a Clemson offense that I'm still not fully sold on. Battle of Undefeateds there at noon on Saturday.
So you're seeing Syracuse in that?
Yeah. I feel like that line's a little bit inflated. I feel like Syracuse plus 13.5 is a decent look. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of really great lines this week.
I'm gonna do $100 2-game parlay, both those picks.
Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not do that, because then I gotta worry about it. Then I'm like
Eric's texting me.
Implicit. I'm implicated in this situation. I don't want that going down, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, so a lot of the problem with these lines is like I'll see a matchup and think, ooh, I bet you that so and so team is like undervalued, and then you go to the line, you realize no, the odds makers know what they're doing, the sharps know what they're doing. Like, I will say though, Ohio State is 100 times better than Iowa and completely blows everyone out, right? But I feel like 29 points against Iowa, the way Iowa plays, like Iowa is going to lose, and they might lose. Yeah. They might lose 24-0, 27-0, but 29 against an offense that basically just tries to take the air out of the football and completely drain clock. Even if they're losing by 3 touchdowns, they're just going to try to run the clock out. They just want
to run the wham.
Exactly. They just want to lose by as little as they can. They know they're going to lose, but if we can just lose by only a little bit, I don't know though. I got nothing great right now in college football. I'll keep looking though.
That's solid. So we're gonna do one more college thing.
All right.
So it was announced, I think yesterday, the day before, that the Michigan State game at the Big House is at 7:30 on October 29th, right? I believe that's Saturday. I could be wrong. I think Halloween's on Monday.
Yeah, that's right.
That makes sense. Yep. What's your prediction for that? And the reason why I'm asking that is you might just be like the normal, be like, oh, it's an easy one. What was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when Michigan was really good and State was bad? Was that Mel Tucker's first year? When
I don't know Michigan. I don't think Michigan was good, but yeah, it was
not as good as, or never not as good as they are this year.
The pandemic year with no fans, but yeah, they were supposed to be. I mean, they were like 3 touchdown favorites or something like that.
What do you think the spread's going to be in that game? 20.
This. Oh, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be probably like 17 or 18. I think it's going to be just a hair below 20, but they're going to be significant favorites.
I'm saying
17.
Sure.
I'm saying 17.
If I bet $10 on Michigan State money line, that was probably going to be, if it's a 17.5 point spread, how much would that be? It'd be like, it's at least got to be 1,000, right? Plus 1,000, I would think, right? Less than that?
Probably less than it. Yeah, probably maybe like plus 850 plus, yeah, nearing plus 1,000. Yeah, you're gonna be honestly. Okay, this is where I get so.
I bet
delusional.
I bet my whole DraftKings account last year, and I went to the game. I don't know if you remember
Did you?
that. And it was
Oh,
literally
that had to have been the best
great.
day of your life.
It was one,
That
it
had
was
to have
one
been
of
the
the
best day of your life.
it was one of the best days and one of the greatest experience. And like I doubled down at halftime. I texted my buddy. I said, "Hey, can you go to my my other betting account and just throw the rest on the spread?"
Are you at
So like,
halftime? You
yeah,
did
and they
that
were
at
down
halftime?
16. Yeah, down 16.
No. Listen, not only were they down 16, but the
It was
way that
Michigan
half
was getting the
ended,
ball too.
that half ended with like Aiden Hutchinson completely like ramming our quarterback's head in the ground, and actually I think
It was a
scooping scoring, but
fumble.
then
Yeah, it was.
but then they questionable overturn, questionable. We'll take it though.
Yeah.
So for you at halftime to say, yeah, we're gonna win this game. Oof,
Yeah,
you're a brave man.
I think I won close to $1,000 just in the game, and like just being in East Lansing and getting to experience all that. And
Unbelievable.
yeah. So what's your prediction for that game? Does State
There's no
cover the
prediction.
spread? What?
Yeah,
You do?
absolutely.
You think they
Absolutely.
keep it close?
Throw the record books out. Throw the record books out.
I
I'm
got
telling you,
my starter Michigan State jersey on right now.
I was going to ask what jersey that was. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's just like I probably got it from like Marshalls. Whoever number one was Charles Rutt. No, he was number 2, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was 1, but if you might know that. Was there a Michigan State player that wore number 1?
What did Plaxico wear? No, he wore like
11.
Yeah.
Let's
I feel like there was
11.
definitely number 1 though. Let's see.
Number 1 in Michigan State football history. Oh, jersey.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to like look this
Charles
up.
Rogers. He was number 1.
He was? Wow.
The Charles Rogers story. Rest in peace. One of the greatest draft picks by the Lions. So
Saginaw High, right? Saginaw High? He would say.
Yep. So you're saying they're keeping it close. That's your final prediction?
Yeah. I think
score, please, and winner.
Okay. I don't think Michigan State wins. I don't. I mean, I just think
Peyton Thorne throws for 5 touchdowns.
But I I do think that we come out and play way better than people think. We're gonna be coming off a bye week. We're gonna be well rested, and
Tuck coming.
Tuck coming. Sign off.
That's it.
That's it.
And the podcast.
but really though, like there's something about, you know what I hate is like everyone talks about like all these like the best college football rivalries and like Michigan State never comes up, but I don't know if there's a more like venomous like rivalry. I don't know if there's as much anger in many other rivalries in college football that there is between Michigan and Michigan State players and fans. Like it's pretty heated, and I think that Michigan State coaches, starting with D'Antonio up through right, and there's been continuity there through Tucker, getting their players to really embrace that anger and that hatred, and really come out and play. And I'm usually not a believer in like emotional stuff. I'm all about like analytics and like, X's and O's and like the actual talent you have. But I do think there is something to that. I also think that our pass defense is our big, has been our big issue for the past couple seasons. And like, I wouldn't mind kind of like loading up the box and stopping the Michigan's like running attack, and then forcing like, what I'm saying is like, yeah, our pass defense is bad, but they also have a freshman quarterback and who could be prone to make mistakes. And I'm willing to like try to like force him, and I hope this is the game plan, force him to try to beat us through the air. So maybe we're a little bit healthier in a couple of weeks.
So play him like we used to play Denard back in the day. We would just put 9 guys in the box, like, all right, pass the ball.
Exactly. No, exactly. And look, don't get me wrong, McCarthy, I keep wanting to say McNamara because I can't keep track of their
poor guy.
But like, he's good. He's looked good. But like you saw that, I don't know if you watched that Penn State game on Saturday, but he threw that
that pick that was like, okay, like every once in a while he has one of those plays, that pick six, where it's like, all right, yeah, he's a freshman, you know, he's still young. This is his first go round against Michigan State. I don't know. I think we keep it close.
You brought up rivalries and what Michigan State is, and I have a couple of those Michigan fans that are like, we don't care about state. Our rivalries with Ohio State. First of all, I was telling them, can you name any like bigger rivalry with the endings of these games? Luckily, it works out in State's favor, these crazy ass endings. But like last year, obviously the muff punt and like just beating them when we were like not even supposed to even be in like this, you know, like a high spread game. Like I just feel like there's a different atmosphere, and Michigan did beat Ohio State. They, you know, they handled them last year, but come on, man, that's like saying, I don't know, like the Tigers are great because they won a World Series back in, you know, was it 80,
Yeah.
you know, 84. It's like, bro, that's not even like
That's
close to recent history.
not exactly. That's because I'm with you. I also just get so upset when it's like, oh, Ohio State's our rival. It's like, really? That your rivalry wasn't close for like 15 the past until last year. I mean, it had been completely lopsided. And not just that, but most of the games weren't good. Like they weren't even like entertaining games, a lot of them. I mean, you had a few of them. You had that year that like they were like number one and number two back in like 2006 or whatever, the Troy Smith era. You know, it's some, but like by and large, I mean, it was just Ohio State domination for a decade and a half. Meanwhile, like you said, Michigan State games were unbelievable. Like you didn't know what you were getting. You had like crazy endings, like the craziest ending, one of the craziest endings of all time with the muff punt that you mentioned last year, crazy comeback. You had, look, even I'm not just going to bring up good like Michigan, like great moments for Michigan State. How about a couple years ago when Michigan won and they like there was the whole like planting the flag or stomping on the logo thing, and there's some pushing and shoving beforehand. Like again, I think
I
there's
was younger too. Was it Plaxico, and who was the really good receiver for Michigan? He was insane. He didn't really do that great in the NFL. What was his name? But it went to like triple double overtime and like State blew a huge lead. Yeah, Braylon Edwards.
Yeah. There was that game. Oh yeah, go back to like TJ Duckett, the clock out the
with like second, caught like yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's been so many great games and so much like angst and anger between like the teams, and the Mike Hart, the whole Mike Hart thing. I mean, there's all sorts of, again, for the past 20 years, it's been a better rivalry than Michigan Ohio State, no question.
So there you have it, Mr. Lemoyne. Michigan wins, but in a close game. So we're going to end this episode with everyone's favorite segment. It's called the lightning round. Ask 5 questions. These 5 questions are specific to you. I would not ask these 5 questions to Doug. It wouldn't make sense. He wouldn't know how to answer them. So I need you to answer these as quick as possible. First thing that comes to mind. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Who is the most personable person you have ever interviewed while covering a game?
Ooh.
Do you have like a favorite like athlete or coach?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't like that this is the answer, but it's the truth. And I don't even know that I asked him a question directly because I didn't have the courage to. But John Calipari, being in like a press conference with John Calipari at the podium, the guy is just, the way he carries himself. He's such a character. He's really confident, but also just like really funny. He's truly funny. I would say him or Izzo. They're just the two most like dynamic personalities when it comes to like at the podium. The way that they talk, the way that they answer questions, the way that they like will just make fun of their team, especially like early in the season. Both of them will just completely rag on their team right in front of their players. Just be like, we stink.
Yeah, we feel like shit. Shouldn't have won it. Yeah.
And honestly, they're like kind of broken records in the way that they respond to questions that way, but it's hilarious every single time. So I'll go Calipari with a side of it.
That's awesome. I would have never thought Calipari. That's cool. That's cool to know. What is your favorite kind of salad?
This is a troll question. He's trolling right now. Chris Michaela's out there somewhere laughing. You know what?
Answer the question.
Caesar salad. They want me to say chickpea. I'm not going to say it.
How many Little League World Series games have you watched in your lifetime?
It's 2 in a row. That's two.
That's a serious question.
I've watched a couple in my life, but I don't watch them anymore because I can't stand the Little League World Series.
And we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
What was your go-to order at Dagwood's?
Oh, it was. I think it was the Reuben. It was the.
Was it the turkey Reuben, the blondie, or was it the regular?
Yeah, the blondie, the turkey Reuben.
Turkey Reuben.
Man,
last but not.
Sorry, I know it's lightning round, but I miss the Dagwood runs.
We actually went there. Like Chris took our team out for like lunch. We went to Dagwoods. We just sat like in that little park there, and we ate. It was cool. It was cool. Last but not least, who is your favorite quarterback of all time, and why is it Tim Tebow? I had to say it to the end.
I hate these questions. I'm done with this podcast. But yeah, no Tim Tebow. I'll go with the Bronco though, John Elway. Loved him.
He's your favorite?
Growing up, I was like, I had Bronco stuff in my room. I had like multiple Elway jerseys. Loved it. Loved him.
Were you terrified Tebow was coming back and playing quarterback or tight end, or you were nervous about that? Because we had that bet. Remember that?
He made the bet that if he what did I owe you some? I owed you
so
something.
when Tebow first no, he didn't never came. Yeah, he actually came back for the practice squad, but we made a bet after he retired. I'm not a Tim Tebow fan on the field. I'm a Tim Tebow fan as like I just like the way he handles himself and like with the publicity and all that. We bet that you said that Tim Tebow will never start a game in the NFL ever again. And I said, I'll take that bet. And you were like, no, wait, he has to play quarterback. I go, nope, I already took the bet. He can play in position.
Yeah, the whole tight end thing really threw me for a loop because I was like, you know what, this could actually happen. And like, I think was it who was it?
Jacksonville.
Was it was that when Urban Meyer? It was Urban Meyer
because it's his boy, yeah.
And I was like, of all the people, like Urban Meyer might just like, even if he doesn't deserve to get playing time, Urban Meyer's gonna like make this happen. I got really worried, and then they cut him. That's fine.
I was thinking he was going to make the team, and then like their two quarterbacks would go down the same game, and they had to put Tebow in. He just let him back, and like like that Steelers playoff game that I brought up in the last podcast. Yeah. Well, cool, man. That was it. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for coming on. This is cool catching up. We have to get together, maybe do a mug night.
Hey,
just do some O'Toole's, man. I lived in Royal Oak now for almost a full year, and I have not gone to O'Toole's once. I've actually only gone like downtown Royal Oak once.
23 anymore, man. It's
I know
it's a different crowd.
It's like I was like, I'm gonna move to Royal Oak, man. There's like so much to do. It's like, yeah, there's so much to do as an adult too.
yeah, exactly.
Not go spend $6 for a bottle of beer.
Right. And now you're just doing home projects. You're like, could have been mug night. Now you're just fixing things, building things.
That's Thursdays, right?
Yeah, mug night. Yep.
$2. You can bring a big gulp, 64 ouncer. They capped it, I think, for how it has to have a handle, and it can only be like, can't be more than 64 ounces or something. But two Miller High Life, you get two of those massive jugs, you're tanked.
Honestly,
just play games at the table too.
Probably the best deal I've ever heard of. Maybe alongside the Riv in East Lansing with the their pitchers.
Didn't Crunchies have like those buckets?
Crunchies had the buckets. That was a good deal too. I feel like the Riv though with the pitchers, I don't know. On
how much were the pitchers?
I think they were like, I think you got like a pitcher and a burger for like $4 or something. I don't know. It was something crazy. I should remember this, but it was on Thursdays. It was unbelievable. It was like the best deal. Oh, great times.
East Lansing, man, it's definitely one of my favorite cities, just because of the atmosphere, and I was having a good time.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Thanks for having you on, and best of luck this week. And I'm sure we'll be shooting some text messages because I'm about to whoop that ass. Actually, not really. You're gonna beat me, but
Can't wait, man. Appreciate it.